2013, and directed by Jonathan Glazer. And it's about an hour and 48 minutes, and it stars Scarlett Johansson. So this is kind of like a science fiction and like mystery. And so this is one of my favorite movies, films. It's called like an art film because I think it visually has certain moments where it's very beautiful, like visually, and I think that's the reason. And then it's not something that I guess would appeal to the masses, you know, but visually I think it's and also the content is one of my favorites. So this movie it's about an alien that has taken the form of a woman on Earth, and she basically goes around in a car and like, you know, tries to like give rights to people, like guys, particularly like guys, and like seduces them and, you know, talks to them, and she's very beautiful. So like it's easy, I guess, for her to then convince the guys to take them to this house. So once she seduces them, she takes them to this, like, it looks like an abandoned house on the outside, but then she takes them in, and then like somehow the place or the room becomes like this this huge place that is like a black floor, like super smooth. And so, and again, visually it looks amazing. And so she takes them into that place, and then once that happens, it's like they are in a trance, like just focused on her. And then so she starts to undress herself, and she walks and is walking, and then they're like following her, and then all you see is this floor become a liquid, and then they just continue walking and walking and walking, and then they just are submerged into this liquid, and so you see that happen, I think like 3 times, like 3 victims, and then once they're in there, it's a liquid, and so they're like almost, again, just still, very still, like paralyzed, and slowly, I guess, their bodies become like the life sucked out of them, but they're alive the whole time up until they just all of a sudden just collapse and die. And I guess all of their body and all of that, like their bodies, that whatever concoction that becomes is sent somewhere. So that's why this is like an art film, because it's that that process is shown to you in like a vague, abstract way. So it's not showing you exactly every little thing and where it's being sent. It just kind of is shown to you, and that's what you kind of gather, is that it's being sent somewhere, maybe her home planet or somewhere, but related to her, wherever she's from. And she's kind of like, reminds me of like a worker ant. She's very no emotion, very robotic in the way that she moves, and just doing what she's been sent there to do. And there's a man that is present, not all the time, but I feel like he's someone there to oversee what she's doing, and also like to help take care of any incriminating evidence that might, lead authorities or other people to guess, okay, what are these beings doing? So she continues to do this, and she then picks up a guy who has like deformities, his face, and she starts to talk to him, and he kind of, I guess, talks to her about how he feels and how alone he feels. And in that moment you kind of see how she sympathizes with him, and I guess how she feels. And then in that moment is like a spark is ignited in her, questioning who she is, what is she doing there, because prior to that she's just like, again, emotionless, just doing what she's been told to do. But she then spares his life, and that kind of is, I think, a catalyst for her to question and her situation, her individuality, and just kind of gaining awareness. And so she, from that point, she runs away. So the guy that is there with her, he's looking for her. She runs away, and she goes to this town, and this guy helps her. He takes her to his home, and like, he likes her, and she also likes him. But it's in that moment, it's kind of like she's questioning herself, and she's almost kind of trying to see what it's like to be human, because she goes and orders a cake and she's eating it, but she like throws it up, because I guess, I don't know how exactly her body works, her anatomy, or I don't know, she probably doesn't eat, but yeah, I think she just, it's kind of interesting to see that. And so it gets to a point where, again, she's like trying to, like, she has feelings, like she likes him, and she's trying to follow his behavior, as a human, and he likes her too. So they get to a point where, they're being physical, and and then he's trying to find, you know, her female anatomy, and she doesn't have nothing there. So at that point, like, even she's surprised, because prior to that she wasn't really looking at herself like as an individual, like you know, so it's like she didn't even know, you know, that was missing, you know, and so at that point he's like freaked out, and she just runs out and runs away again, and she goes into like this forest, and she's walking, and she runs into another guy that's walking the opposite way, and then she finds this like cabin. She goes in there and she sleeps, and then after that she leaves, but the guy that she ran into in that forest, in that trail, he basically wants to rape her, and in the process of trying to do that, he's like, you know, fighting with her, and she's fighting him. Like, she gets up and she's, you know, crawling away, and he sees that, like, her skin is like ripped, and like something else is underneath the skin, and so he runs away, and he's freaked out, and then he goes and gets something. I guess I don't want to ruin the ending, but things don't go well for her, and that's kind of the end of the movie. But the interesting thing that I liked about this movie were how they filmed the scenes where she was picking up the hitchhikers. So basically what they did, I looked into a little bit of how they filmed it, is that they put cameras in the car, in like into the actual like the structure of the car. So like in the, what do they call it, the dashboard, or like, you know, just stationary cameras. And so, you know, some of the cameras were hidden to the main actress, and then and the other actor, but the hitchhikers that she was picking up, they were locals, so they weren't. It gave it more of an authentic feel, because they were, the way that they were in those situations, it was like, you know, they were just, it's how I guess anybody would react in that situation, and they weren't professional actors, so, and how it was filmed, it gave it an authentic feel, because they didn't know where the cameras were, so it's like they weren't acting and facing the camera, trying to, you know, tailor their reactions to where the camera was, and so they didn't kind of have those constraints. They were just acting, and wherever the cameras were, that's how it was capturing their reaction. So I thought that was cool. And then another interesting thing is there's a part where she's driving, and the camera is looking at her reflection in the rear view mirror, and in that moment you can see how her state of mind was prior to having that awakening. She's like blank, like nothing going through her mind, just no thought, just do. And then I liked how they really took time to show things like that and not rush things and, you know, just go scene to scene to scene, but just really take their time in developing the character itself and showing emotion and feeling in all the scenes, but yeah, certain scenes really allowing them to play out and not rush things. And yeah, this movie, I wouldn't say it's like an action-packed movie, but there are some scenes that, you know, can be considered action, but it's mostly about seeing her transition and going through that questioning and self-awareness. And yeah, this is loosely based on a novel by the same name, Under the Skin, but they kind of, you know, do something different with it. And another thing that I like about this movie is how I feel like they could have gone a different direction with this movie and maybe given an insight into you know, where these victims were being taken to, and, you know, more of the aspect of why they were doing that, why were these alien beings doing these things. And I think that's something that has been done, I think, in other movies, but what I liked about this movie is how it focused on her and her someone who's just a worker, but really looking at her as a character. And, you know, that process of her questioning, instead of focusing on why the aliens were doing this or going to the mothership or any of that, but just, you know, just the process of her getting the victims and taking them wherever she takes them, and the change of her that she goes through. So I highly recommend this movie. I think, like I said, it's one of my favorites, and I recently, maybe like a year, 2 years ago, I found out about it, and I was like, what? I was like, just watching the trailer, I was like so excited to see it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and bye.